faced with is this human problem. The problem is what this human mind must get educated with, how and why. If there is a broader consensus on these three basic questions, perhaps balancing our process of thought, achievement of goals, and accomplishment of the system may not be a problem. This gathering is for that larger purpose, and I am quite hopeful that the City Montessori School, under the able guidance of Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, Geeta Gandhi, and all the men associated with them, teachers, students, would answer these questions for not only this local city of Lucknow, but to the state, nations, and the globe at large. I am so grateful for the participation, all of you from worldwide. And today I will not be taxing you much on the aspect of time, because all of us are here to listen to Honorable Justice Dalveer Bhandari Sahab for his able guidance. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now I will request Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Dalveer Bhandari Ji, the Judge of International Court of Justice, to read out the resolution and bless us all by the speech. And I will request him to go to the podium, because it will be much easier for the audience to listen to you.
Honorable Chief Justices, Deputy Chief Justices, judges from various countries, Honorable Head of the States, Honorable Speakers and members of the Parliament, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Judges of the International Criminal Court, Netherlands, Mr. Gandhi, moving spirit behind this wonderful conference, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, esteemed friends from media, greetings and good wishes to all of you. This 20th conference on Article 51 of the Constitution of India relating to international peace and security is a unique conference virtually organized by 2.5 billion children of the world and a generation of children yet to be born. The only demand is that they may be allowed to survive in the world. The only demand of the children is that they may be allowed to survive in the world. Instantaneously, two questions arises: whether the demand is grossly unreasonable, whether there is any truth in the allegation or substance in the demand. The demand of the children by no stretch of imagination can be said to be unreasonable. The apprehension of children is also not without any basis due to prevalent conditions of the world, where some countries have been piling up deadly weapons of mass destruction, global warming and environmental degradation, serious problem of transnational terrorism, and real threat of nuclear war. All these are legitimate, bona fide, and extremely serious concerns of the children. I would like to congratulate all the children of the world, particularly 56,000 children of the City Montessori School, for making a wonderful initiative. this extremely important conference relating to survival of humanity has brought together highest judicial dignitaries and other dignitaries from various countries on this platform. I have been attending international conferences for almost 5 decades, but I haven't come across any conference where so many dignitaries from various parts of the world have been brought under one roof. Mr. Gandhi and his entire team deserves our heartiest congratulations for making extraordinary effort in organizing such a meticulous conference, such a large conference. I am grateful to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share my views in such a lovely conference. Last century has witnessed 2 world wars leading to untold suffering and sorrow to mankind. Despite all we have witnessed and suffered, but unfortunately we have not learnt any lesson from such monumental human suffering and tragedies. Even now we see war-like situation and conflicts persisting in many parts of the world. Dr. Gandhi referred to some of them in his short speech. In my view, the main causes of persistence of these problems are because of grave discrimination, huge disparity in society, piling up of deadly weapons of mass destruction, environmental degradation, problem of transnational terrorism, and threat of nuclear war. Further, these global problems are inescapable of being solved single-handedly by any one polity. For tackling climate change to cracking down on transnational terrorism, from preempting the threat of nuclear war and keeping pace with the increasing hold of technology in our lives, only collective thinking can find solution to these issues that are common to us all. The most weighty of these problems is maintenance of international peace. In this regard, it is not only collective thinking alone, but collective determination to accomplish world peace can perhaps resolve the problems. After all, these are global problems and can be resolved through the efforts of all countries of the globe. I would like to confine my address, peace, development through law and justice. In my view, law, justice, peace and development are closely correlated. A closer look at the ongoing conflict today shows us how the maintenance of peace is inextricably linked to justice and development. Appropriate laws and independent judiciary to adjudicate dispute expeditiously are the need of the hour. Once justice has been served, peace is restored, only then sustainable development begins. The backward slide in countries like Syria and Afghanistan exemplifies this point. The deterioration of peace and security situation in these centuries has been accomplished by the rise of terrorism and weakening of infrastructure and institutions. Consequently, development has taken a back seat. Meanwhile, post-conflict societies such as Japan and Germany have emerged from devastation of Second World War with their infrastructure and economies considerably weakened, and yet they have recouped and evolved to become the world's third and fourth largest economies respectively. This is consequence of decades of peace that has followed, achieved in part by attempts of transnational justice, and took place in the immediate aftermath of the wars in the form of Tokyo and Nuremberg tribunals, and aided by establishment of robust judicial and other institutions in these countries which persist on this day, ensuring that peace is not undermined by lack of substantive justice. Even the leading economy of the world, the United States of America, only achieved the unparalleled heights of economic growth in the long decades of peace during the second half of 20th century, after the upheaval of the Second World War had ended. Peace is a precondition for sustainable development. Without the need to divert resources for collecting weapons of mass destruction, scarce resources can instead be reallocated for welfare of the population and to bringing about infrastructural and institutional improvement designed by substantive justice and lasting socio-economic development to the people. After all, peace once achieved can only be maintained when justice has been served to the people. The main cause of these problems, according to me, are: one, discrimination prevalent in the world. A main threat to maintenance of peace is because of prevalence of discrimination in many parts of the world on the ground of race, sex, language, or religion, and consequent unrest. In 1948, in the aftermath of the Second World War, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights emphasized all human beings born free and equal in dignity and rights. This was merely a legal recognition of natural desire of all human beings to have the equal protection of laws and equality before law. After all, any doctrine of superiority based on racial, ethnic, gender, or other such differentiation is scientifically false, morally condemnable, socially unjust, and dangerous. The United Nations has made multiple attempts to stress this point. For instance, General Assembly Resolution 1514, the Declaration on Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and People, was passed in 1960, wherein member states of the United Nations had jointly undertaken to expediently eliminate racial discrimination throughout the world. However, even after 6 decades after that resolution, which was passed unanimously, the problem of colonization has not been fully eliminated. This in turn breeds grave unrest, leading eventually to conflicts between groups and the states. The another serious problem which I perceive is the problem of terrorism. The other cause for global instability threatening the maintenance of international peace is the prevailing problem of huge social and economic disparity. Once consequence of disparity between the groups within and across the nation is growing, the social elimination of certain groups and individuals, making them an easy prey to extremist radicalization, which can lead to terrorism, has quickly catapulted from a fringe phenomenon to one of the greatest threat to world peace in the current day. My firm belief is that these problems cannot be solved by one country, these problems cannot be solved by some countries, but there has to be efforts by all the countries, and jointly, if we all work in this direction sincerely, we may be able to resolve the problem. None of these problems can be solved by one country, as I mentioned. Our collective determination can resolve these problems. Given such circumstances, who better than the judiciary, a body that is accustomed to thinking rationally about complex issues and determining efficacious solution, to turn for the answer. As judicial officers, it is our bounden duty and obligation to maintain global peace through law and justice. After all, justice has been shown that peace can be achieved through proper legislation, adjudication, and impartial and prompt justice. Way back, the negotiation of Jay Treaty in 1794, which averted war between United States of America and Great Britain, is often cited as the first instance of a legal mechanism, namely arbitration, being used for the peaceful settlement of an international issue, and could have otherwise escalated into war, killing tens of thousands. A significant step in this direction was taken in 1899 Hague Convention for Pacific Settlement of International Dispute, which set up the Permanent Court of Arbitration in order to institutionalize the availability of an alternative, peaceful and justice-driven methods of resolving conflict of war. In the last century, the post-war years have been the proliferation, international law and international dispute settlement bodies, often under the broader aegis of the United Nations. It is unsurprising that the devastation of the two successive world wars strengthened the belief that compliance of law, not war, was the only way forward. During setting up of Permanent Court of International Justice after First World War and the creation of its successor, the International Court of Justice after Second World War, to bodies dedicated to resolving dispute in areas of technical competency such as World Trade Organization, Dispute Settlement Body, the International Tribunal for Law of the Sea, to strides made in healing post-conflict wounds through the administration of International Criminal Court, through the Nuremberg trial and ad hoc tribunals of 1990, and now the International Court of Justice. I'll say a few words about the International Court of Justice. The drive towards justice, towards fairness and complete equality is the motivates our work at the International Court of Justice. We live in a world that is slowly slipping back into the fold of conflict involving both states and non-states armed groups. In such distressing time, it's important that we emphasize the availability of meaningful alternatives for the resolution of differences to avoid spilling into a third world war, a war which may have the potentiality of destroying the entire human race. The United Nations was set up with just objective after Second World War, as it is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations, The primary motive of the ICJ too is to contribute towards achieving the goal of world peace through application of law. It is need of the hour that while adjudicating disputes between the parties, we must keep in mind that decision must further also, or at least not disrupt peace in the society or in those states. In its nearly 75 years of existence, International Court of Justice has consistently prioritized the achievement of having peaceful settlement and concomitant justice. In the course of adjudication, the members of the court keep in view that their decision should not escalate conflicts and may make all efforts to ensure peace is maintained or achieved. Several of the court's decisions have resolved armed conflicts. I would like to mention a few. The temple dispute between Cambodia and Thailand was resolved in 1962 by the court decision, and that brought the peace in the entire area. Similarly, Burkina Faso versus Mali's decision brought an end to long-standing disputes between both countries, which had faced number of armed incidents. Similarly, the another case of the International Court of Justice, Baxi Peninsula, Cameroon versus Nigeria, also was settled in the same way. These are among the spectrum of issues that are important. I can multiply it, but because short of the time, and I don't want to delay your lunch, so I would not read most of my speech. But I'll say that while adjudicating at the International Court of Justice, apart from doing justice to the parties, always we keep in mind that peace is not disturbed, and if it has been disturbed, how it can be restored. Now, I would not like to go through the most of it, though it has already been said, but Dr. Gandhi has asked me to read the resolution of 1919, which all of you